This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Oliver Friesen, the CEO of Golden Metal Resources. Now, Oliver, you recently put out a fact sheet which included various highlights from your project Pilot Mountain. That's your flagship project. Could you run us through what was included in this fact sheet and explain a little bit more why this project is so strategic for the USA at the moment?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, great to speak to you again there, Mark. That's correct. We just released the fact sheet. I encourage investors to go to our website or to our Twitter page to have a quick look at that. And the reason we did that is just, as you mentioned, to highlight exactly why this project is so strategic and critical at the moment. A few things that I'll highlight from that particular fact sheet. Number one, China is by far and away the largest producer of tungsten globally. They currently produce more than 80% of global supply of tungsten. So they're the biggest player without a doubt. Zooming in on the USA specifically, more than 30% of the United States total tungsten imports come from China. China is their biggest tungsten import partner. What's also interesting is that USA currently does not produce any domestic primary production of tungsten right now. So they import everything that they use. And as mentioned, China is their biggest partner at the moment. And that's obviously a problem right now, especially at a time when countries and governments are looking to secure and bolster the supply chains of critical and battery metals and the homeland security of those supply chains. So obviously sitting on the largest undeveloped tungsten deposit in the US at a time when the US is reliant on China is in a really good position for Golden Metal Resources. A few numbers that I can highlight from the fact sheet. Number one, United States currently imports 2,700 metric tons of tungsten per year from China. And what's interesting is a scoping study that was done on Pilot Mountain back in 2018. And this is assuming no increase of the resource at Pilot Mountain, which is actually a big focus of ours going forward here into 2023, is exploring some of these other zones that have not been explored or drilled before at Pilot Mountain. So assuming the in-ground resource that we have right now, the 2018 scoping study with a 12-year mine life, highlighted that Pilot Mountain could supply 687 metric tons of tungsten per year. So that would go a really long way to allow the US to reduce their dependence on China for tungsten. And another thing just to note here, Mark, and it's not included on the fact sheet, but if you go to our Twitter, you'll see a few posts about this aspect in particular, is the developments that have happened recently in nuclear fusion technology. And the reason that I mention this is I spoke to someone in the industry quite recently about the tungsten use within the nuclear fusion industry. And a stat that really blew me away and really surprised me was the fact that one large nuclear fusion reactor, the amount of tungsten needed in that reactor is essentially the equivalent to the entire global annual consumption of tungsten across the world, across all industries. And that's one reactor. So it's something that I'm keeping my eye on quite closely as this technology continues to advance. I think what's going to become clear here as this technology continues to take hold and commercial availability of this particular energy source becomes more mainstream is the fact that tungsten, there's not enough in it in the world, and those sitting on tungsten deposits will be in a very fortuitous position.
Okay, well, you mentioned China there as a major global producer. I wonder if I can ask you, how does Pilot Mountain compare to other tungsten projects globally, but also with relation to China and their space and their footprint in this market?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think the first thing just to highlight here is the fact that Pilot Mountain is the largest undeveloped tungsten resource in the United States of America. 12.53 million tons at 0.27% tungsten trioxide. That has significant copper, silver, and zinc credits. So just looking at the US specifically, incredibly strategic asset being the largest undeveloped known deposit of tungsten. But then looking at globally at all the other tungsten deposits in the world. And what's also interesting is the grade that I mentioned, 0.27% tungsten trioxide. If you include the copper, silver, and zinc credits into a tungsten equivalent value, it equates to approximately 0.5 or 0.5% tungsten trioxide. So as a tungsten equivalent basis, 12.53 million tons. If we were theoretically, if we were able to increase the size of that resource to 25 million tons, which would be effectively a doubling of the resource. And as mentioned, with all those blue sky exploration targets that we have, we're very excited about the exploration potential at Pilot Mountain. So if we were able to double the size of the in-ground resource right now to 25 million tons at the tungsten equivalent grade, Pilot Mountain catapults into the upper top quartile of tungsten deposits globally. There's actually 7 deposits that are currently in the top quartile. What's really interesting is 4 of those deposits are located in Asia, including countries such as China and Russia. So we can kind of cast those aside as they're unfriendly countries. 2 of those 7 deposits are located in northern Canada, on the border between the Yukon Territory and Northwest Territory. So those projects, in terms of CapEx, in terms of time to build, are very, very far away. Those are going to be hard ones to put in production. And then the 7th of the tungsten deposit in the top quartile is a deposit that's actually about to go into production in Australia. So when you actually look at those top quartile deposits and you look at where they're located, it becomes clear that there's really only one top quartile deposit that's about to go into production in a friendly country. So if we have success with the drill bit at Pilot Mountain with the current grade that we have and the current in situ value, this project can become one of the most significant and strategic projects globally, not just in the United States of America.
Okay, well, alongside Pilot Mountain, and of course, you've got your other projects there, haven't you? Golconda, Garfield, and Stonewall. These, I presume, complement the flagship project there, but how would you say? How do they fit into the big picture?
Yes, I mean, what's so exciting for us is Pilot Mountain, as we've discussed just today, there's so much meat on the bones there, and it's a standalone asset. It's a flagship asset for any company out there. But we've added some really good complementary assets to the portfolio, and they're ones that don't really get much attention, with all the attention going towards Pilot Mountain, and rightfully so. But as we've continued to get this story out and talk to potential investors and those who invested in our pre-IPO, people are getting really excited about the other assets in the portfolio. And one that I'll highlight to you is our Golconda Summit property. It's a gold property. And the reason this one's so interesting right now is with gold kind of well above $1,900 per ounce. Now, investors are looking to get more exposure to gold exploration stories. And the great thing about this particular project, it's located in northern Nevada, in a part of the world where you find what's called Carlin-type gold deposits. Now, UK investors are not overly familiar with these Carlin-type systems because they are found almost exclusively in northern Nevada. Canadian and American investors are very familiar with these deposits, as they're some of the highest grade and biggest deposits in the world. I actually used to work for Barrick Gold just down the road from our Golconda Summit property on a Carlin-type system. That was Cortez Hills, which is north of 15 million ounces of gold now. So it's a deposit style that's kind of come full circle for me. I'm really looking forward to exploring and to drilling this Golconda Summit property. So at a time when investors are really starting to switch on to gold, we're sitting on what I think is such an exciting potential gold exploration story here in northern Nevada, looking for Carlin-type gold, which are some of the most important deposit types for gold that you find globally.
Okay. Well, just finally then, Oliver, it's clear that things are progressing at pace. You've got the fact sheet there out on Pilot Mountain. Thank you for just bringing that to our attention, and also talking a little bit there about the other projects in the portfolio. But of course, the big one is, of course, the listing, isn't it? You're in pre-IPO, and people are quite keen to know, if possible, when that IPO may actually be happening. So, I mean, can you give us any information on the next step? Sort of, if you can let us know where you are on the path to listing, also the next step to listing. And also, what work are you doing pending listing as well to increase the value or the investment proposition of Golden Metal Resources prior to that IPO?
Yeah, great question, Mark. And it's one I've been getting a lot lately here, and rightfully so. What I can say is that we are pushing this forward as quickly as possible. We're certainly in the final stages now, so we're looking to kind of wrap everything up here. And the reality is, once we get this listing behind us, which is the part that we're just focused on at the moment, we're looking forward to going and exploring these properties. I'm a geologist myself, an exploration geologist. My love and my focus and my what I like to do is to go and explore and to run exploration programs. So we're working as hard as we can to get this listing over the line, completed. Obviously, having the markets here really start to perk up. People are getting really interested again in junior mining. It's a great time to be bringing this to market, in my opinion. So once that's behind us, we're focused on exploration. We're going to be an exploration first, exploration focused company. We're going to be de-risking Pilot Mountain. We're going to be exploring a lot of those really blue sky exploration targets at Pilot Mountain that have never been adequately explored historically. We're going to be drilling, exploring at Golconda Summit, looking for exciting gold, Carlin type gold stories and discoveries. And then we have a lot of exciting exploration at Garfield and Stonewall as well. So once this listing is behind us, it's going to move straight into exploration, and we're going to be putting out a plethora of exploration news across our portfolio. And there's going to be a lot for our investors and potential investors to look forward to as we push this story forward into what looks to be a really exciting emerging metals market.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Oliver Friesen, the CEO of Goldel Metal Resources.
Thanks, Mark. Chat to you soon.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.